Yeah.
LaCroix.
Ooh,
Have you had this flavor?
Yeah, no.
Which one is that?
Beach plum.
White girl
Beach
bug
plum.
spray.
Beach plum. I don't know what a beach. I don't know why it's beachy, but I live at the beach, so they got me it. It was just marketing.
I just came
Blech.
from the beach.
Delicious. White girl bug spray.
Technically,
What's wrong
I
with
think
you?
it's La Croix because it's
La
French.
Croix.
But no, but people are like LaCroix. I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what that
I
is.
saw I saw a meme the other day, and it was like for the people that love love LaCroix. It's like, have you just not tried anything else?
Anything else? Clearly,
It's
you
so
haven't.
bad.
Hey friends, welcome to the Separated at Birth podcast with your hosts Katie Martin and Karen Burke Brown. This is the podcast where we find alignment in the most unlikely places, proving that lightning can strike anywhere at any time. We'll weave together a world of middle-aged empowerment as single moms, businesswomen, and creatives. Finding alignment, navigating relationships after divorce, raising kids, building businesses in the creative space, and doing the hard work of unearthing our very best selves in the process and having a lot of mother effing opinions about it. We're so stoked to have you here, so let's go. Let's get into the episode.
Katie. Okay, so I'm
Karen.
so happy to bring these two greats together. So I have been wanting to introduce you guys anyway, because as you have friends that you want to introduce to me, my friend Sean here, I'm so glad that he could join us here. So let me just tell you a little bit, because I know a little about Sean, but I think the little that I know is really cool, but there's so much more about Sean that I don't know. So in speaking with Bobby ahead of time, like, hey, who we have on? I'm like, oh, he's this, this, and this. But I'm so happy that he's here because I feel like I'll learn a lot more about him. So he's just a baller, rock star, all the things. So what I do know about Sean, a little bit from myself, but also that what he shared with me, he did grow up in Fort Worth, technically, right? Okay. So you can stop me if I'm wrong. So he grew up basically in the Texas area, but was an Army brat. So did move around, but kind of had a different way of growing up. Again, Army brat, moved around, all those things. So, didn't have that foundation, had the family foundation, but maybe not location foundation. So, and I'm going to read some of the things that he said too. 43, just turned 43, lived in 5 different countries as a kid, started a gym in Southlake. I don't think I knew that about you. Owned that for 5 years. So moved to the UK at some point, learned how to cut and sew, and became sort of this custom suit badass dude who travels the world, works with professional athletes, works with some celebrities, which we'll talk about, has been on both sides of the aisle in Capitol Hill. So Republicans and Democrats alike, which they all need the fashion help for sure. Loves to shop. I know this. I know about his shoe collection, which he has a separate room in his house for shoes, which I think it's also spilled out from that room. I don't think I don't think your collection is sequestered necessarily to that room. I think it's spilling out. He doesn't have kids or anything, but that's, I think, his shoes and his dogs, multiple now, or his babies. Anyway, so loves cars. He is working with a few different brands right now, doing collaborations, as well as, and he can kind of speak to this too, as well as like maybe helping with design, or again, you can speak to that specifically. But I met Sean through another friend who does a lot of custom suiting. She works for a company, however, and so she's held captive to different fabrics and different designs, where Sean is like, yo, this is what you need to be wearing, that kind of thing. So he kind of has his fingers in a lot of pies. And what I love most about Sean, I mean, all of those things are amazing. We all have fashion, interests and stuff. But what I like about, what we joke about our circle of friends, it's really very small. It's a dot, which I got that from you, where he tends to surround himself with people who are like-minded, but who get it. And so although he does all these amazing things, he's not like, yes, I do all these amazing things. He has humility. He's a cool dude. He's got one of the coolest dogs I've ever met. In fact, this is the only dog to actually ever kiss me on the mouth when I walked into the house, like with no invitation. And so we kind of know each other on an intimate level. I've brought his dog toys. He's been to my house to hang out, and he's like, what should I bring? And I'm like, just bring your dog. Like, bring your dog. Yeah. So he brought his dog, cool. Which I love that dog. Anyway, so he's just a really cool guy. So I thought we could talk about some of the things that he's done, what he's doing, what his passions are, where he gets inspiration. Again, kind of a fashion thing. And also because I think we all have a sense, or Katie and I talk about this, about the people that we bring in our lives and having boundaries, and the people that we keep in our lives, and that we all root for each other. We're not like, oh my gosh, Sean has 1,800 pair of shoes. Like it's man, Sean, you're killing it. Like we root for each other. We cheer each other on. And I don't think a lot of people are like that. I don't think that's the norm.
If he truly has 1,800 pairs of shoes, I'm coming over. What size are you? Say men's 9.5, because I'm coming over.
10. Dunks are 9.5s, but yeah, all the rest are 10s.
There you go.
See, plus you have to meet his dog, and now dogs. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but yes, Katie will be in town, so when she is...
I have so many questions.
Okay, good.
So many things.
Yes,
Sean,
so welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you
so
for having
glad.
me.
Yes.
I'm excited that we get to get all these, I can ask all the penetrating questions when I'm 100 million miles away.
Yeah.
And then when we get to meet in person, it'll just be hugging and,
Absolutely.
We'll get all that out of the way. So I love that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us and for everything that's about to happen, because I know we're going to get into some good stuff. So,
yeah. Well, okay,
Sean,
so go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to just say, like, I'd love for you to tell, well, first of all, since your alarm's going off, which is no problem.
We think we love it.
I have to share this morning that my son, I was just dropping them off, and he put on a pair of his sister's blazers to go. They were like hand-me-downs, okay? Yeah. And this child he puts these on for the first time. He's 10. His name's Kelly. And he doesn't really, like, pay a lot of attention to his appearance yet. He's not, like, into it yet.
Yeah.
But he puts these shoes on, and this is what he says, and I'm like, he's just teeing me up for what we're about to do. He goes, Mom, the shoes are the cornerstone of every outfit. He goes, Who
are you?
He said, I shit you not. He said, you could be wearing, like, a really fancy dress and, like, have some really nice shoes on, or you could put some dunks on, and it changes the whole thing. And I'm like,
you're raising him well.
I said, yes, because that's totally me. I'd wear, like, a prom dress with a pair of dunks,
Yeah.
And then he puts them on, and he looks at me and goes, respect the drip, yo. And then he walks out the door.
Kelly said that.
Okay. Respect the drip, Mom. Okay.
Kelly is so, like, not...
he's not. He's not the one in the
that.
Family that would do that. He's clearly been hanging around his brother and sister who are older, and
he's like the comic
relief,
and he's like dun, 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 like he'll come walking in the room.
He's a bobblehead. Kelly's a bobblehead, but
Okay.
He's made of bubblegum, and anyway, but I was like, this is hilarious that this is what he's bringing to me this morning, and just like getting me into the vibe for Sean, because I'm respecting your drip too, babe. Always. Okay. In every photo that I've ever seen. Like, do you ever dress down? That's my question.
So I definitely, I get text messages from my friends whenever we're going out, and they'll tell me, hey, Sean, dress down.
Right.
Wear sneakers. Wear a t-shirt.
And you're like, hell no.
See,
like, I do.
I've heard that myself, which I don't
Same.
get. And I'm like, I just dress how I dress. Like, I don't.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, I've had a coworker say to me, which really, it kind of hurt my feelings, and I tried not to take it personally, where she, of course it was a chick, said, Karen, do you always have to dress so nice? You make you make the rest of us look like bums. And I'm like,
stop being a slob.
Okay,
exactly.
Stop being a slob.
I just dress how I'm not trying to show up and put on I just dress how I dress. Katie, you've seen my closet. Like, I'm not, Sean, you've seen me dress down. Like, I might show up in a sundress. I might show up in jeans. Like, I just dress how I dress. So I feel that.
And that's the thing. Like, I'm a huge quote person. Like, love quotes. And it's like, A, dress like your worst enemy's going to be there.
Yes.
B, dress like you're going somewhere better later.
Yeah. I love that. I
I
love
also
that.
think whenever we are in the like I am my brand, you are your brand.
Yes.
You have to be a billboard for your brand. So
Right.
I don't know. I think there's a whole lot that I have to say about like what your appearance and everything about you. Every choice that you make about how you present yourself says a lot to the world about who you are.
That's my
You know?
quote. Like, that's what I use in my business, which is how you dress tells the world how you want to be treated. So if you show up in Daisy Dukes and, a halter top, okay, that's cool. Like, do you? But if you get catcalled, you can't get mad. Like,
No.
you're putting it out there. Again, if you're,
Right.
Wearing a turtleneck and jeans, and you get catcalled, you're like, oh, okay, how did I
I'm
pull
in my
that
Lady
off?
Di moment. How dare you?
How did I pull
Right.
that off? But it's not, I think you can still be classy. You can be sexy without, being, tits and ass kind of thing. I think you can do all of those things, but ultimately you show up how you want to be treated. So if I show up professionally, okay, I expect not to carry the room, but I expect to show up with, all right, she means business kind of thing. If I show up wearing a bikini top, okay, I'm not going to hold a meeting in that. So I don't understand why there's a disconnect and why people don't understand that. So
I think where it gets, go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
No, I can tell you, dressing the way that I dress has gotten me through a lot of doors that I wasn't supposed to be in.
Yes.
Showing up at different times, different, award shows, after parties, things like that. Dress nice as opposed to the guy that walks up wearing a t-shirt and a, pair of oversized jeans and, sloppy shoes. They're looking at me like, okay, he's supposed to be in here. No question.
Right.
Go ahead. You're like, I don't have a ticket.
I don't even need to look at the list, honey.
Yes.
Right.
They're like, you look good.
You're in.
Either way, you're going to look good in pictures. You're somebody kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, case in point, week before last, I was in London with some friends and I took them to, Sexy Fish to go eat. So Sexy Fish is like the new hot spot.
Yes, I know it.
Spot. Okay. So, they're literally turning people away at their door. I mean, the door guy sitting out there and he's like, looking through and having people just stand there. I walked up with a buddy of mine. As soon as we walked up, he takes a step back and he's like, my God, come on. Like, what are you doing in line? No, right this way. We walk right in. And my buddy looks at me and he's like, what just happened? I was like, the ticket.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just walk right in. Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
And I think something important too, that I think we've talked a little bit about fashion to our, the two listeners that we have, our moms or whatever, is just that it doesn't matter. It's not about the cost necessarily. And so Katie knows, like, I've gone through her closet and other clients have gone through their closet. You can have something, but you can tailor it down to make it look like it's a custom piece from Sean Marshall. It's, again, if you don't have much of a budget and I know that you work with people on budgets too. You've made me some jeans before, which were not expensive. I mean, I've spent more on jeans at, like a department store.
Right.
But so you can get custom things that don't have to break the bank, or you can get pieces that you love, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to make it look like this was made for me, which is a big thing I do, where I'm like, you know what, we can shorten this, or we can take this in or change the dart or whatever. And then now it looks like it was made for you. So you can get in those doors or get the job that you want. And that's kind of how my business always is, are you not getting the dates that you want? Did you lose a bunch of weight? Did you divorce recently? Like, are you trying to put yourself out there or find kind of who you are? And Katie helps with that, with kind of finding your style. And then I'm like, let me show you how to bring that out kind of with what, with what you have kind of thing. So
Absolutely.
I think that's an important conversation, and it's not about money, which I think people get hung up on, and shouldn't matter what I wear. I should be able to get a job, or you should love me anyway. But I think it's still important. It's part of, and it's not prideful, but I think it's about confidence and showing up in a way that you're a better friend, you're a better worker, you're a better partner, you're better in all of those ways. And you can't tell me you don't feel different when you walk out the door wearing a jacket and, looking put together versus wearing Daisy Dukes and a ripped up tank top. Like, it's
personal.
It is.
Yeah.
It is personal.
It's personal.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I was just going to say, so where Karen and I intersect is I am like the therapist that meets with the person first and says, I realize that there is something in you that wants to elevate or grow or expand in a certain direction, but you may not even know what that direction is until you kind of look at the conditioning of your life. A lot of people have these majorly limiting beliefs that based on the way they were raised. Maybe they were raised in a super conservative house. What will people think? They think they're confined or defined by how old they are. Oh, I could never wear that. I'm too old to wear that. Or or they have like Pinterest boards full of things that inspire them, and then they go to their closet and nothing like that is represented there.
Right.
And it even goes down to the way they do their hair, their makeup. Like people are like, oh my gosh, I love your hair. I'd never have the balls to chop all my hair off. I could never do that. I don't have a face for that. And it's like, you're lying to yourself. You are in your own way. And so I know from my own life that I was a people-pleasing good girl. I'm still a good girl, but like I was very much a people-pleasing good girl who wanted to express my own self. And I have an edge to me. I have tattoos. I didn't get tattoos until I was in my 30s, and so I was slowly emerging. I think I got divorced and I started to shed those layers, and all the Lily Pulitzer dresses that my mom kept buying me, that I was like, thanks, this is your style, not my style. So if you're, I'm like, does it come in black? Is there like a harnessy kind of a thing I can wear on top of it? Like, that would be rad.
Yeah.
So, I just think me going through that thing of, oh, I'm going to disappoint some people here if I start showing up with tattoos but then at the same time, the freedom that you feel being yourself for once and for all is just like the most liberating thing. And then you just start pushing the envelope, and you surround yourself with people like you, Sean, like Karen, who are like, yes,
do
wear
it.
the mesh shirt under the blazer, wear the,
right.
So I just think for me, where I feel committed is in the therapy piece of that, not the shopping piece, not the tailoring piece, not the let's go. It's the who are you? Let's vision board that person and then hand them to you and to say, go create that now with an expert. So
Love it. Love that.
I'm curious. That's where I kind of thrive in the fashion space. What inspired you like early on in your life to become this? And then I have so many questions about like, what is a Sean Marshall? When somebody said, like, I'm sure you have like a look that is like, everyone should know that that's a Sean Marshall look, right? And I want to know how you describe that or define that. And at what age do people start to kind of come into that, and where do they, you know what I mean? Like I see it starting to happen in kids, and them being able to express like what they are, who they are, and obviously the pressure of like fitting in and all of that is another story. But I think when you see people like you that are like blazing that trail of standing out because we were all born to be that, it's such an inspiring thing. So I'm sure you get that a lot too. So I know that was a loaded gun of a lot of questions. So just pick one and run.
No, I was the kid that always got picked on in school for wearing ties and suspenders to school. Always.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
It was like my mom.
Not that you got picked on, but that you showed up. And you were just so like brazen at that young age. Like, I'm doing this. Yeah.
I mean, like my mom has shown me pictures of myself when I was
love
like
this
3.
story. Well, sorry. I was going to say your grandfather, or that great story that you told me about it. Kind of being who you are or in your blood. Sorry, I thought that's where you were going.
Tell that too.
No,
okay.
I've got pics of my great grandfather, my great grandfather, my great great grandfather, and of course my grandfather in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, 1920s, and one of my grandmother walking down Main Street in Fort Worth in 1927, just as stylish as she could be. My mom says, you got an honest. The picture of my great great grandfather, it's he, his 2 brothers, and 2 of their friends, and they're all in black tie, top hats, huge top hats, like ascots, whole 9 yards.
Love it.
Wow.
Me seeing that, and I didn't see those pictures until I was like 41, 42. And, my mom tells me, she's like, you got it honest. The pictures that she had, the pictures that she has of me when I was like 3 and 4, it's like me standing with my little double-breasted suit on, standing next to my tricycle, hand in the pocket, And she's like, yeah, you were ready to go pick up like little Lucy from kindergarten and take her off on a date. So
I love it.
I've just kind of always, she told me, as an infant, she would lay my clothes out on the bed, of course, prepping me to go wherever. And I would crawl over and swat stuff off the bed. But if I liked it, I would just crawl to it and sit on it. So,
that's awesome.
Come middle school, high school especially, it was always ties and suspenders. And, everyone was like, why are you dressed this way? It's not picture day.
Right. It's not, where are you going to church? Did someone die?
Yeah. And I'm like, this is just what I wanted to wear. I remember one of the first jobs that I had was a store called Britches. Britches is now, Britches turned into Structure. Structure turned into Express.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I'm that old.
No, we had that connection too, because I worked at Express and it was when we had a Structure next door. And then then we were carrying Bath and Body Works product in the Express. Yes. And then it was Express Men. And then, I know what you're talking about. I'm older than you. Nice try though. Nice try.
Yeah. So am I.
So, neither of you look it.
Yeah, well, it's the iPad.
That's just.
Don't make me get my hand out.
That's just always been my thing, though. I've always loved to, present myself well. I was looking at GQ when I was, 10 years old, 12 years old. Mm-hmm. All the different like Sears catalogs, most little boys were looking through the lingerie section, and I'm looking through like the suits and ties. So that's just, again, it's always been my thing. Never knew that I wanted to go in that direction of having that be my career. But played baseball for a little bit. Like I said, I had a gym for 5 years in South Lake. I had a really nasty injury that I had to rehab and recover from. And the time frame that the doctors gave me just wasn't going to cut it for me. So I took all the tests to become a personal trainer, rehabbed myself back, ended up opening a little small gym. Well, I did personal training in South Lake until I met a gentleman named Mr. Brian Stebbins, who, if you know anything about South Lake, he pretty much developed the entire town. He had a very, very bad disease that caused him to decline rapidly. When his wife came to me to train him, they had given him 4 months to live.
Oh my gosh.
Through the techniques that I used and utilized with him, he lived for another year and a half.
Oh, that's amazing.
But they, as part of a thank you, they found me a facility and they were like, it's yours, go in, do what you need to do. So I had that for about 5 years. I worked with South Lake Heroes football team and their wrestling team. So very successful with that until a bigger company came in and decided they wanted to buy me out. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? I packed up, moved to London. I learned how to cut and sew at a company called Scabal on Savile Row. And, utilizing that.
How did you even do that? Did you just knock on their door? Like, what did you say?
So,
I'm just curious how people pivot in that way.
So,
that's a big jump.
No.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to get out of the U.S. I got over to London and was hanging out there for about a week or so. And I would walk down all these different streets, just looking at all the old shops that were there. And the infamous Savile Row popped up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where, all the greats do everything. Alexander McQueen's spot was over here and all these other spots. And so I walked past this one spot, and the guy had these big, long shears, and he was cutting fabrics. And I was like, what is he doing? Wow. So sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's okay.
It's part of the day.
I went and got lunch, and I sat and watched this guy cut an entire pattern. And after about an hour or so, he had like all the different pieces laid out. I went back the next day, and the next day he had those pieces, and he began to sew. After about a week's time, I saw what was forming to be a jacket, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Fashion Week was the next week. I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize.
It's okay.
Fashion Week was the next week, and everyone knows Fashion Week in Europe is like crazy. So I was like, okay, I've got to get dressed up. I got to go to some of these parties, figure out like what's going on. I ended up sneaking into a fashion show.
Because you were dressed probably for the part. They were like, oh, you must belong here.
Exactly. And essentially what I did is there was a group of people that were walking up, and as they got closer and closer to the front, I walked up and I complimented so many noises.
You're like, I'm just trying to tell my story.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm so sorry.
We're sure there's not a real fire, right?
Babies.
No.
Okay. Poor babies.
Okay, so this group of people...
So, but I have to ask one question.
Yes.
You had all the clothes... You had all the G Money clothes, like, going to London, though. Because you had already kind of,
who you
your
were
style
already
and who you were.
Yeah.
So you weren't just gym guy going with your Adidas warm-up sweatpants and, like, trying to... Okay. So we're Sean already.
Yeah.
We're just Sean looking for scissors.
Exactly.
Big scissors.
So,
big ones.
There was a group of people walking closer and closer to the line, and I saw that everyone had like an invitation, and just taking little notes. They would just flash their invitation. The guy would check them off the list, and they'd walk in. So this group, as they got closer and closer, I ended up walking up to them, and I complimented the dress that one of the ladies was wearing, and we got into like a little conversation. And as they moved closer and closer, the gentleman that she was with flashed his invitation, and I just kept talking right along with them as they walked right in.
That is...
Like, that's divine. Like, you were supposed to be there.
That's some, like, intentional, like, I'm getting in there.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like... Yeah. So, and like, that's a risk. People don't... That's a discomfort, because you could have easily been tapped on the shoulder like, hey, sir, where's your invitation? But it didn't happen. Because it wasn't meant to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you looked like you belonged there.
Exactly. So, get into the show, and I'm wandering around because, of course, there's like seats for everyone to sit in. I didn't have a seat, so I kind of just walked around avoiding security at all costs, avoiding anyone that had a headset at all costs. And
they're gonna find... It's that imposter thing. You're like, oh, they're gonna find me out.
And you probably were looking like, oh, I'm going to meet somebody here, and then I'm going across the room to meet somebody to talk to them here.
Absolutely.
Like I'm not...
Sean is like the fake it till you make it. This is like,
I love this story.
The whole like I acted like I was supposed to be there.
Yeah. Ended up going through one door where I saw a bar, and I was like, great, need a drink. Poured myself a couple drinks, and then found out that I was in, I guess, like the green room, I guess you could say. And
what do you know?
After a few too many shots of tequila, I ended up in one section where all the models were literally walking off stage, changing, walking back out. And I was like, oh, this is where I am. Guy walks up to me and he's like, hey, sir, can I help you? Like, help you find something back here? And I was like, oh, no. And so then, of course, came the, well, how'd you get in here? Who do you know here? And I couldn't say anything. I had nothing to go off of. And he's like, you don't have an invitation, do you? I was like, no, sir. He's like, come with me.
Oh.
He walks me closer towards where everyone is doing all these different things. And as different people are walking up to him, as different people are walking up to him, they're asking him questions, and he's giving them answers back in Italian. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm definitely not in trouble, at least for right now, I don't think. And he says, so again, how'd you get in here? And I was like, I kind of just snuck in. He starts laughing, and he's like, I love that. I love the genius of that. He's like, tell you what, you're coming with me the rest of the night. So for another 45 minutes or so, I'm walking around with this guy, and people are asking him questions, and I'm like, okay, this guy must be like some bigwig or something. And he's like, okay, I have to go do a thing. I'll be right back. And he and another guy ended up walking out onto the stage, and they did their thank you, this and that, and this and that.
Oh.
When he comes back, I'm like, huh.
Wait, he's somebody.
His show.
Stefano Gabbana of Dolce and Gabbana.
Stop
Get out of here.
Yeah. So they thought it was absolutely hilarious that I snuck into the show.
You were show crashing.
Yeah. I made myself at home, so I got to hang out with him and party with him the rest of the night. So I was around Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford, like all the models that were there for the show. They asked what I was doing there, and I said, I'm kind of just like roaming around London trying to figure myself out. They were like, what are you wanting to do? And I said, well, I've always loved fashion. And they're like, so what do you think of the show? And again, tequila was definitely in my system. And I was like, here's the thing. You guys don't make clothes for people like me. I'm a former athlete, played baseball. I mean, I don't mind spending the money to buy your clothes, but I have to spend another $150, $200 to get it altered, to get it tailored, to fit. He's like, so what would you change? I'm like, well, you guys make clothes for people that are like this big around. You know, like I have to buy a 2X in a t-shirt just to get it to fit, but then it's like a dress down below. And they're like, so what would you change? And they're like, you know what? Hold that thought. Meet us tomorrow for lunch, and we'll talk more about this. Tonight, we party. So I party.
Tonight we party. That's what I hear.
I was very hungover the next day.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
You gotta do this. Tonight we party.
I know.
Yeah, I was very hungover the next day, but I met them for lunch, and we sat and just kind of talked about like my thought process of the show. And they're like, so what would you do here? Like, what would you want to do here? And I was like, well, I've been watching these guys over at Skabal, and I was just intrigued by watching this guy make like what I assumed was a jacket. I said I went in to kind of ask if they were hiring or like needed an apprentice of some sort, and they pretty much told me no. I guess theoretically because I'm the American, and they were like, leave that to us. It took 3 days. I got a phone call back from the general manager at Skabal, and they were like, you have a 1-year internship.
That's great. Awesome.
That is such a killer story.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many like life nuggets. I mentor a lot of women, and I'm always talking to them about like, just take the risk. What do you have to lose?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And there's just so much gold in that, in everything that you did. Literally packing up your life and just going to London and being like, I'm here, what's next?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like,
and
who
knowing
has the
that
balls to do that?
you don't have anything to lose at that point. You're like, what's the worst thing that can happen? I guess I get kicked out, or I get arrested, or, you know, for trespassing or something. And I mean, there are worse things, you know, so
There's
you're
also
like,
the element of people think that they have to work for 40 years to make progress in what they really want. And when you are in alignment with your dreams, it can happen like that.
Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
you have to be, your receptors you have to be open to seeing what's in front of you and taking those risks and risking discomfort, and you know, but it success loves speed. So
nothing great ever came from comfort zones. So
three days and you're in. Boom.
Yeah.
Amazing. Not one contact. You drop, you know, you're at Heathrow and you're like, I'm here. And then you're kicking it with Dolce and Gabbana, right? And
Dolce.
Like,
crazily
I
enough.
mean, but again, you make your own luck. You make your own luck. You found yourself at the right place at the right time. You know, you were wearing the right clothes. You had the right attitude. You were, you know, not shy. You weren't in your own way. You weren't overthinking anything. You just were doing it. And so inspiring.
If you think twice about a lot of things, it'll never get you anywhere. Like, I mean, I'm a go with the flow, go with the moment.
yes.
Most people are in their own way. Most people.
I agree with that. I fall into that often, and I can recognize it in other people too. And not that I don't recognize it myself, but I'm like, I'm good.
So now my question is, you're in this world, you're in the London fashion scene, you're learning, you're, I'm sure, meeting more and more people, you're attending more and more events. And how do you say goodbye to that? Or did you know, like, okay, now is the time for me to go do what I need to do and not necessarily work for like a fashion house, or, you know, what was that transition?
I had a lot of friends that were pro athletes, that were like, I had an internship at MTV for a while. So I had some contacts there. And I just had the thought process of, okay, I know how to do this now. Who can I put this on? Who can I use as a guinea pig to kind of like see if I even know what I'm doing? Fortunately, Skabal allowed me to use some of the fabrics that they made for my beginnings, which I really didn't realize what I had. Having just worked particularly there for that time frame, going back to the States, I thought, okay, well, these fabrics, come easily, for me. When I started to put different jackets, different suits on my athletes, giving them the price point that I was giving them, they even questioned it. They were like, "This is cabal, and you're charging me how much for this?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great price. You're my guy. I want you to represent me well. It wasn't until maybe about a year in that I realized that I was selling these suits for like $900, $1,000, and that fabric, even at that time, Scaval, they were going for $4,500 to $5,000.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to change that structure real quick.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you started just cutting and sewing for friends that were athletes, and for that body type specifically. So you were kind of niching, which was your kind of mission from the beginning, was
right.
that you felt there was this void in, the mainstream fashion world that was excluding that body type.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at fashion now, look at NFL athletes, NBA athletes. Those guys are either very, very tall, very, very large. The reason why, as much as they love name brand and designer labels, Louis Vuitton, Dolce & Gabbana, things like that, the most you see them wearing is maybe a T-shirt or like their shoes. They can't fit. They can't fit any of the
thick thighs and big butts.
No.
Nope.
I have worked with baseball players as some of my clientele before, and I know that that's the biggest thing. Again, not even football players. Baseball players can be big, but as you play baseball, but it's still, they still have those thick thighs, they still have the big butts, and you can't just buy off the rack. If you do, it is this process, like you said, of really sizing it down or cutting it so much where you lose the silhouette completely.
Absolutely.
So I get it. Totally get it.
And that for me, I think, was a great starting point, because if you can learn to drape and cut for athletes, everyone else is a piece of cake.
Sure.
There's a lot of guys, like our good friend Rod, my buddy Rod, he can literally wear anything off the rack. It just fits him. He has that body type to where, if it's even around his size, it just looks great on him. But that's abnormal. So learning to cut for athletes, cutting for their shoulders, cutting for those thighs, having a big ass, learning to cut and make sure that there's breathability, they don't feel restricted. That's been a bit more of a niche for me, I'd say, more so than other tailoring houses. And then I like to put, my fun little spin in that niche on things as well.
So what is that? What's the Sean Marshall stamp?
Coordinate. No, I'm just kidding.
Coordinate.
The mushroom.
Yes.
So, sport coats are my big thing. Suit sport coats specifically. Certain details. I like to mix English details with Italian lines. So it's a very slim silhouette, whether you think you have an hourglass figure or not. I get some guys go, I can't wear that. That makes me, look at this. I've got a spare tire down here. Well, if a tailor knows how to cut specifically, I'm going to give you that hourglass figure. I like to do, see here, it's called an English rope shoulder. Peak lapels are like the go-to thing. I'm a huge car guy. I look at my tailoring and my designs from the standpoint of a car engineer. Most guys that are car guys will look at a car from the side. Theoretically, you want to look at the car from the front quarter angle. That way you can see down both sides. The sides, the front of the car, so you can see everything that engineer wanted you to get from that car. The side scoop on the side, it actually cools off the air on the back brakes. The front air dam, creates the aerodynamic downflow. So when I'm designing, I take the shoulders, the torso of whomever it is, male or female, and if it's a pattern, I want to make sure that you have all these angles that are playing off of everything. If we're going to do pockets that are slanted, so you have slanted pockets with an hourglass figure, slope shoulders. It's making sure for me that I have all those lines in with these specific details, a contrast stitch on the lapel buttonhole, a contrast stitch on the last buttonhole, Angled buttonholes with overlapping buttons, that's my signature. And then, of course, the fun part is the linings. I like to do very, very fun, detailed linings. I love Renaissance art. But when I meet with clients, part of the thing that makes it so unique for each and every client is finding out what they love, where they go, who they're around, and making that particular jacket their own based off of that. So if I have a client that loves wine, for example, I got the label off of a 1984 Petrus, and I sublimated that into his lining.
Sweet.
One of the things that I'm working with IWC Schaffhausen now, that's a watch company. They've been making watches since 1862. I made the CEO of the company a sport coat featuring a piece that they made for Lewis Hamilton, who just won.
Yes,
by the way. Yeah,
yes,
Silverstone.
I'm a big F1 fan, and I love Lewis. He's my favorite.
Love that.
Yes,
So,
I was celebrating on Sunday.
Sweet.
They made such a fairy tale ending for Mercedes.
Absolutely.
So sorry to digress, but yes, keep going.
Like last race.
We can talk. We can talk it all day.
Yeah. They made a timepiece with Lewis. They only made 44, his number. Lewis got the first 10, so there was only 34 available to the public. At $256,000. I mean, it's one of those pieces that you
can't wear it.
Exactly. Well, that was one of their prize pieces. So Chris, the CEO, I got with him. This guy made time for me. He's the CEO of a global company. We sat down. I kind of pitched him a few ideas. Said, hey, I want to make something for you. So what I did is I took images that corporate sent me of that timepiece, did a dye sublimation into the lining of the whole watch itself in the back of the jacket. And on the sides, I did the skeleton case back and the inner workings of the watch. So
very cool.
That, he loved it. He reposted it onto social media, and it kind of became a thing. And so going forward, every boutique that I walked into from IWC, they were, oh, you're the guy that made that jacket.
The jacket, yeah.
It kind of spread. So we now have a partnership that we're working on right now. I'm working with all of their VIP clients that buy a lot of their limited edition timepieces. We're doing jackets for them to coincide with their timepieces.
That's
very
sweet.
Cool. What is your lining really cool right now?
This one is. Oh,
I'm like, I know we got something fun.
Oh wow.
Very cool.
Oh wow.
Very cool.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Like, who would know that that's all in there, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's so great.
Coordinate.
I love it.
I got a belt.
Yeah. Right? That's amazing.
Love That's one of the things. Like,
but it's unique. Like, no one's going to accidentally pick up your jacket. Like, oh, I thought this was mine. No, it's,
no.
You know, it's like, it's very custom and it's personalized and it feels unique. It looks unique. And I think that, again, I don't want to tell your story, but when, you know, being around people and they're like, man, I want a jacket like that. Or, hey, you're like, I can make you a jacket like this. And then it kind of steamrolls. And now you're working with John Hamm. You did the jacket. It's one, I love a white dinner jacket. And I love I'm like, hey, my friend Sean, I'm like, you know, remember when Matthew McConaughey, who I had a hot flash just saying his name, when he won the Oscar for, what was the movie? Yes, I was like the skinny guy. Club? Yes, he wore that white dinner jacket. Sean did that jacket. So I'm like, oh, I love that jacket. We were talking about, like, it stood out to me because nobody else looked like that. Nobody else looked like that. So yes, I love, it's usually like in a kind of the black tie, like basic. I'm like, oh, white jacket. Yes, it completely stood out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that.
So let's ask. I just want to say, like, you've done so much. What's the hope and dream? Like, what's the, you know, do you want Dua Lipa to be on the red carpet and be like, I'm wearing a Sean Marshall, you know, or what's that look like for you? Do you want to do a show? Do you want to do, because
it's not just jackets. He's got a whole line of.
What's your 5-year plan?
So I've always done pieces for my female friends, but it's just been like a one-off here, one-off there. In the last couple of years, I've decided to kind of dive a bit more into couture pieces. So I've done a few couture dresses, one in particular, and I can tell you, any artist can tell you that they're never happy with anything that they do. I saw a model on Instagram, and of course, these days you can't just hop into someone's DMs. I had a photographer buddy of mine reach out to her, tell her that I thought that she was like the perfect muse for this idea that I had. He reached out to her and messaged me back. He's like, she doesn't speak English, and if she does, it's very little. She's Spanish. I was like, oh. Messaged her in Spanish, sent it back to him, and next thing you know, 2 weeks later, I was on a flight to Spain. I flew to Spain to meet with her, got her measurements, and I thought, okay, I hope this works. Got to work on the dress. It took 4.5 months to make this dress. It's 14 layers of taffeta silk. It's my version of a black wedding dress.
Very cool.
Has a wired bodice, and we did the photo shoot for that dress and 2 others that I made for her in Milan, in the Duomo, and in front of in the Galleria. We shot it at 3 a.m, to make sure no one was around. When I had her try that black dress on, zipped her up, she turned around and spun and she twirled a little bit, and I legit got teary-eyed.
I get it.
It was the first time. It was the first time ever, and at that time it had been 12 years. It's the first time in 12 years that I'd ever looked at something that I'd done and said it's perfect. So she's worn it a few times, posted it on social media. I've gotten quite a bit of attention from it. So I've been working on a few pieces. So the goal now is to venture more into doing like some women's couture pieces. Eventually having a full line of men's and women's, going for all the different seasons. But I'd like to, including yourself, Miss Kate, get you into something and see how that works out.
That would be so incredible.
Love it.
How about like, what about like the merging of the worlds? Like, what about women's suiting?
Oh yeah. I've definitely done
You're
that.
like, I've done that all day. You're like, that was,
So
okay.
That's, women's suiting is like easy for me, because I literally just take the things that I do for my guys and I make it even better for the women. Like I'm very, very fortunate. I'm friends with some of the buyers from Chanel. So any tweed that's not in season, any fabrics that they aren't using for the season, I get to use as for projects of my own. So I've done quite a few. I've done
such a brat. Such a brat, Sean.
I've done quite a few tweed jackets using Chanel fabric, and of course, the linings inside are like everything. That's the fun part. Cool thing is, walking through their offices, they have all these buttons everywhere, just from all the designs,
all the years,
and nothing matches up. So, I would take the girls' croissants and take them muffins and all these different things, trying to butter them up a little bit. And, of course, I always made it a point to kind of pick up a button. Like, oh, this is interesting. Like, oh, that one's from like an '84 runway show or this and that. They finally kind of caught on to what I was, hinting at. And they gave
muffins for buttons, people.
They gave me a mason jar and they said, whatever fits in here, you can have. So I've got a jar of Chanel buttons. And about half of them date back to like the 1960s and 70s. They're like straight. So what I do is anything that I make for clients using their fabrics, I always hide one of those buttons somewhere on it.
That's cool.
Very cool.
That's historic.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about with the tweed and the Chanel. And, I mean, you're just down the street from me now, so Plus, you have my measurements. Just saying.
So couture gowns mainly, or gowns? Is that where you're?
I'm thinking gowns, cocktail dresses, LBDs.
Mm-hmm.
LBDs are like my favorite because you can, make those so insanely sexy. But it's all about the shoes with those too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
Is footwear like in the back of your mind at all? Just designing footwear?
I'll leave that to the experts.
Yeah.
Because if I start to design shoes, my collection is going to grow even more so.
Like I need a 6-bedroom house.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, like, let me tell you something. Women's shoes are so beautiful and they're sculptural and works of art, but they're so uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So where can we make them fit like dunks but look like Lobus?
So here's the thing. I'm friends with Christian, okay?
Yeah.
And We were at dinner one night, and I asked him. I said, "Christian, okay, seriously, women around the world go crazy for your shoes,
Crazy,
but
yeah.
but everyone says they're so uncomfortable." And so he says, let me tell you. Let me tell you. I said, again, just tell me, where do you get the inspiration for your shoes? And he says to me, when I make my shoes, I would hate for someone to look at my shoes and say, "Oh my gosh, that looks so comfortable." I was like, "Wait, what?" He said, "Yes. I would hate for someone to look at my shoes and think that they're so comfortable." So, I mean, that's the whole thing.
So
they're just
absolutely
eye-catching
stunning.
and beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the plan is for you not to wear them very long, too.
Very
and maybe
long.
maybe just that in a trench coat. I think that's probably the idea.
Hey.
There you go. I mean, but it's like, on the way to your event, you're wearing, a flat. You get to your event, you wear, you walk around for a little bit, and then you hop back in the car and go home.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's about the silhouette.
Like, Miu Miu and their little ballet flats that's what you tuck in your...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those little cuties.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, even some guy shoes as well. I mean, like, I've got some that are just like, oh my gosh. Can't meet them too long.
Yes.
No, and also when they're that beautiful, it's almost like you just don't want to risk mucking them up or something.
Just take a picture.
I
just want to, remember how I looked, and then take them off, put your flats on, and But it's I've had multiple shoes that have been resold. Heels, the little thing, I don't know what that thing's called. It pops off all the time. I have shoes. I've got clothes that I've had for a really long time, shoes as well. But shoes, I think, are worth the investment. Obviously, clothes, certain clothes you can keep forever, but shoes, pay more for shoes because it's, that price per wear thing, you will get your money back and then some, and just keep resoling them and, treating them well and loving on the leather and redying them if necessary. And I've done all the things because I'm like, oh, I can't get another pair of these, or these are so unique. And I know Katie has a ton of shoes as well. So
I did a collab with Ferragamo 3 years ago. I had a pair of Ferragamo drivers that were suede python.
Wow.
And I got those probably like 7 or 8 years ago, and I got them in 3 colors, and they stopped making them all of a sudden. And I was like, I know that there were other colors out there. I saw them online. Well, come to find out, they had to stop making those because of PETA.
Yeah.
PETA was like, they're suede python. You can't use python. So what I started to see after that was like, they were using like a water snake. And I'm like, what? It's still a snake, but I guess it's more of a
less endangered
type of thing. So as much as I go to Italy, I met the CFO of Ferragamo in Florence, and I've said, hey, listen, like I have these Parisis, navy blue suede python. I've loved these shoes forever. I don't even want to wear them because I can't get them anymore. And he's like, oh yes, we know this very well. And I was like, I would love to get another pair. And he's like, unfortunately, we have to stop selling them in the U.S. I'm like, well, can you get them here in Italy? And he's like, no. I said, but you guys still have to have.
Where's the vault, babe?
Yeah. Where's the vault? Where's the vault?
Give me the code.
I said, I have an idea. He goes, what? I said, I would love to make a jacket to match my shoes. You make a jacket? Yeah. Showed him what I did, and he says, that could be very expensive. I said, you know what? Just let me know. So we exchanged a few emails, had a few phone calls, and he says, okay, it's going to take 11 snakes based on the measurements that you gave us. It's going to take 11 hides, I should say. Very expensive. I said, you know what? That's fine. Let's do it. So I made the purchase, got the hides, made the jacket. Flew back to Florence to show them what I had made. He comes in, he looks at it, and he's like, this is bellissimo. Bellissimo. It's very, very beautiful. May I? He tries it on, and he's like, oh, it fits.
What do you know?
Yeah. So we went to lunch. He showed everyone. They're in a 450-year-old building, by the way, in Florence. So he shows all the artisans that were there the jacket, and they asked if they could put it on display. And I was like, absolutely. Yeah. So they had it on display in their main window for 2 weeks. He calls me and he's like, I would like to buy this jacket, but it's mine. I would like to buy
no.
this jacket. I said, okay, question for you. If you guys were to retail this jacket, if you made it and sold it, what would you retail it for? And he gave me a figure. And I said, whoa, okay. And he says, I will buy it from you at the retail price.
Wow.
How soon can you wire me the money? So sold them the jacket, and under the condition that they allowed me to offer those Parigis that they no longer made to my clients. Oh. So for that summer, I was able to make 12 pair for 12 very lucky clients, including making 3 more pair to back up the ones that I already had for myself.
Wow.
Very cool. It's who you know. You're like, make a deal, make a deal.
Like, look, I think the lesson in that is just like, you can bet on you all day. You knew you could make that jacket. You could make that jacket out of tinfoil, or any material, even a snake. You're just like, I have faith in myself and my ability and my talent and your vision. And that's super baller.
Love it.
Wow. What
Very
a great
cool.
story.
Very
what
cool.
A great story. So in like with working with people, do you find like, is there anything about like doing like the one-on-one that you love the most, or you would rather, what's that like, that world? Do you like designing for specific people, or would you like to do a line of things that were more, not for the masses, but a designer line that would be, is that like on the map or no?
I definitely love the one-on-one. I love for each of the things that I create to be so specific and so unique for each client, male or female. I want them to know wearing it out. They're not going to see anyone else wearing it. It's more of my little tidbit in giving a client confidence, because as we started out, like this whole conversation, we started with talking about, how the things you wear represent who you are, your style, your personality. The biggest thing that I love from what I do is when I make things for clients, especially those that are like, I could never pull this off. And then we make it and they're like, oh my gosh, this looks so much better than what I dreamed. And then they wear it out, or they'll tell me, hey, I've got this event on Friday night. And, half an hour into wherever they are, they're texting me, I've gotten so many compliments from this. I've gotten that's what I love about what I do.
Yeah.
That little, whether it makes them walk a little taller, their shoulders are a little bit further back, their head's up a little higher. That's what I get out of it. Knowing that they're showing it off to their friends, that the linings, like you said, who would know that that's inside of your jacket? But when you have someone that's got, his alma mater. I just did a jacket. Guy went to Florida State, and I found a piece of artwork that was in watercolor, and it was like the Florida State football helmet with the spear. And I did that type of jacket. He's like, dude, I'm gonna wear this for like opening day.
Yeah.
They're gonna be in Dublin this year. He's like, I'm gonna wear this for opening day. I'll be with the president of the university. He's gonna love this. It's things that they can't wait to show it off. They can't wait to say, hey, look what I have, look what I do.
Yeah.
And it
makes me think of like all the iconic jackets that people think are great, like the gold jacket that you get when you're in the Hall of Fame,
exactly,
or the green Masters jacket. And then I'm sitting here thinking, but how many guys have that same one?
Exactly.
Right? Your shit makes theirs look like there's a dozen of the same, and yours is one of one, which I think is even cooler. But truly, in a man's, that's a trophy. It's a jacket is a trophy, and that yours are even more so.
I think they're legacy pieces too, because you can pass them down and keep them in your family.
Totally.
Totally. 100%. I mean, the guys at IWC, these guys are spending $30, $40, $50, $100,000 on a timepiece, and it's like, sure, you have it on your wrist, but for them to have a jacket that coincides with that has, the inner workings, like the skeleton case back there, the movement of the timepiece in their jackets. Same thing. There's an artist that I work with. His name is Justin Ferrano. Justin Ferrano is the official artist for the NFL Hall of Fame, NBA Hall of Fame. in MLB. So he does like these amazing lifelike portraits of all these athletes. And
like a Neiman.
Yeah. And so what I did when Kobe passed away, he did a painting for Kobe, a painting of Kobe, and his wife Vanessa got the painting. He did replicas of it and sold those. And so, I had a client that really, really wanted to have this image inside of a jacket. And I went to Justin. I said, hey, listen, this guy's a diehard Kobe fan. Sadly, he has cancer. I'd love to make this jacket for him if you would allow me to use the image. He allowed me to use the image. We made the jacket, and Justin realized from all of his fans, all of his clients, I want something like that, because they have this beautiful piece of art that they purchased from him that they have at home, and they're telling someone about it when they're out. And I'm like, it makes better sense for them to have something that they can say, hey, look, this is the painting that I got that I have at home. And it's one of the things that he loves now.
That's cool.
Awesome.
That's so cool. So what's your, like, I don't know, probably the answer to this question is there are no rules, but I always think, what are your, like, rules for just how you dress, or how someone should what are some philosophical things that you believe? Sure. What are your held beliefs in terms of getting dressed?
My number one is I hate trends.
Yes.
I absolutely hate trends. If you look at anything that I post on social media, the one hashtag that I always use is style is not a trend.
I love that.
Fast fashion, there's anything that these influencers will post on social media, they post it, and of course they're influencers, but what sense does it make for you to see 100 other girls dressed exactly like you? What individuality do you have if you're dressed like everyone else? So for me,
speaking my language right now.
Yeah. So I like to tell my clients, let's define who you are, what your particular style is, because that's what people are going to remember.
Yes.
If you have a specific look that you can cultivate and alter as needed to make it specifically your own, when you meet two guys on the street and they're talking to you, you guys may have on the same watch. You guys may have on, like have the same bag, but how you're dressed, that guy's going to think, man, I need a jacket like that. He may not say it to you, but he's going to go home and hop online and try to find something similar, try to find, something.
It's that style element. It's how you put it all together.
It's that style.
The styled element. We can have the same shirt and shoes and whatever, but how it's put together.
I like thinking of.
Yeah. So my biggest thing to tell people is let's, define who you are.
Yeah.
And
they have to know that.
Let that pour out.
That's so hard for them. Do you find that you run into that and they're like, I don't know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All the time.
Because once you know, it's so clear. It's so clear.
And that's the fun part for me, is helping people define their style. Because once they define it, it's all fun and games at that point. Let's go balls to the walls.
You're unleashed 100%. It's so exciting.
And I don't do like crazy off the wall sparkly, like for guys at least. I don't do like these big, hey, like you walk into a room, hey, look at me. No, it's got to be subtle enough to where it speaks for you without yelling across the room.
Right. Sharp and elegant. And so you're saying you don't bedazzle jeans is what you're saying. Yeah. I hate that.
I've been part of a company of women that was like all women for the last 7 years, and it's a beauty brand. And so, we would have these big conferences and conventions, and it was always like a dress to impress thing. And they would have certain themes where it would be like, it's an all white theme or it's an all whatever. And everyone had to bring their own interpretation of that. And, I kind of loved that I was the Lady Gaga of that company in a lot of ways, that I was just going to come, in a white meat suit if it meant that I was being true to myself.
Yeah.
And the one time, this is that my favorite thing in my closet is I have a McQueen suit. It's white and it's got the angled pockets, and it's so gorgeous, and I have a very athletic body. I'm built like a cereal box, and
you are not.
But this suit, this jacket, the way the shoulders are and the waist and everything, it makes me look like I have a more of a female sort of figure. Yeah. And my muse and inspiration for this whole look was Blake Lively's character in A Simple Favor. So you best believe, Sean, that I got myself I had a cane. I had
it was pretty fantastic.
It's bow tie that I did not tie. It was just loosely laid around my neck. I had no shirt on, just the jacket.
Yeah,
I had
it was fantastic.
A heart-shaped silver pocket fob with a pocket keychain. It was the best thing that
Please tell me you have photos of that.
I have so many photos. I'll send it to you.
It's really good.
I was such a G. I was such a G because I knew that every single one of these girls in this company were going to wear a dress. I knew they were going to wear a dress.
Yeah.
That look right there is what I'm designing for fall. So
that's why I asked. I was like, "Are you doing women's suiting?"
Yes.
See,
yeah.
So here's the crime of it. Here's the crime of it. Yeah. I had to order it. I literally ordered it from Farfetch in London, and they send it to me. And I had to order 2 different sets of pants because I have thick thighs, Sean. Thick thighs. Well, so I had to take the other ones, send the 2 small ones back, and the bigger ones I had to take to my dry cleaner. And I'm like, please, please, please take it in the waist. Don't cut any fabric, but I need them to fit. And even still, I probably needed to let out the thigh a bit, but I made it work. But when I sat down for dinner, I mean, my ass crack was like hanging out. Thank God I had the jacket on. So even then, even in my finest hour, in my finest finery, it still fit like shit. It looked good as long as I was standing and,
it looked like
everything was good, but it didn't perform because it wasn't tailored properly.
I mean, I know a guy.
I do. Now I know a guy.
I know a guy.
So,
no,
shit, man.
But
I can tell you the feeling that I felt wearing it, showing up like that.
Yes.
And to this day, I'm like, how do I get a little spotlight in my closet and be like just this thing? I don't deserve to own this, but whatever, it is what it is. No, but so clothing does elevate you and your whole being. And I think that's so great that your whole life is dedicated to elevating people's being.
It's so fun. Yeah.
It's so fun.
I would not trade what I do for. I mean, I tell people all the time, I get to travel the world playing dress up.
So great.
Absolutely love it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Do you
find
still
does weddings
that most people in the fashion industry are I love this question because it's like, you meet a lot of famous people and they're complete jackasses. Do you find that a lot of the people that you meet are super great? And do you think that they're super great because you're super great? Or do you just skirt the assholes? Because, Sean, you're so delightful. I can't imagine you mixing with toxic people, ever.
I meet the assholes, and I skirt them. I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed that I used to be at a point to where I would have clients talk so much trash to me and talk down to me and make me feel, like I was the help. And starting out, it was like, you know what? I need this business.
Right.
I'll take it. I need this business. And again, I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed now to where I can fire clients.
Yeah.
I can say, hey, listen, I'm going to point
that way.
I'm going to point you in the direction of someone else that can, help you achieve
meet your need.
What you're looking for. Yeah.
Clearly, I am not.
Not gonna be talking that way. Yeah. I'm not going to be talked to that way. And I don't like cheap people, and a lot of celebrities, I hate to say it, are cheap.
Isn't that interesting?
they expect everything to be either be free or at a discount or at half off or something. It's like you have so much more money than I do, and you're asking me to give you something for free for you to wear one time.
It's the people that saved for months to own a Sean Marshall that are the ones that you're gonna have the best relationship with. I dealt with that when I was a photographer. The women that wanted me to take their photos and would save their money, and it was because they value you. That's they are willing to make those sacrifices and see the value in you and are absolutely willing and eager to give you their hard-earned money, which is that exchange of value. Whereas a lot of my like super wealthy people that came to do photos, like I was just like, oh, are you free? Okay. Like they just didn't care that it was me and that I was giving them something unique and special or a great experience. And it got lost on them. Yeah. How special it was. And
I wonder too if
I didn't want to play in that arena anymore. I'm like, I'd much rather,
I just wonder if celebrities are so used to people just, comping things for them because of who they are, that they're like, what do you mean you're not giving it
They're
free?
used to it, and they're used to
like the cheapness comes in there,
Yeah, I mean, like,
don't you know who I am? I get everything, comped because if I wear this, it's going to make you famous or whatever.
I was reached out to by an agent who contacted me saying, "Hey, listen, I got your name from another player. Said that you were the best in terms of doing specifically what we need. Hey, listen, the ring ceremony for my client to get his ring is in 3 weeks. Would love for you to do something with them." And I'm like, okay, great. Tell you what, I need to find out when I can meet with him because I take all measurements myself. I'm very meticulous in my measurements. They're like, well, we can send you his measurements. I'm like, no. What you're wanting, if I'm going to do it, I need his measurements. I said, so please, let's figure out a time for me to fly. I'll fly in, meet with him, take his measurements. We'll get to work. So it took them like a day or so to get back to me. And then I said, okay, well, got everything that you're looking for. This is what I can do as far as the lining goes. We'll make it special for the ring ceremony. So it can be his thing. He'll show up to his teammates. Great. So who do I talk to about billing? And they're like, well, you'll deal with him directly, but what are we talking about as far as a price? Gave them what the price would be. Never heard back from them. Never heard back from him.
It's like, what do you?
It's so disappointing.
And I'm like, this guy just won the Super Bowl. He's getting a ring. No, he got a crazy bonus for winning the Super Bowl.
No shit.
Like, wow.
Yeah. Yep.
No.
You know what? Next.
And you like you said, you're fortunate. You can say next. Like you don't have to say, man, I need this.
And then there's the sweethearts of like clients. So John Hamm, can't say how much I love this guy. He is the nicest guy in the world. When he was in Fort Worth shooting, worked with Taylor Sheridan, he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, you're from Fort Worth, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I'm here. If you're in town, let's get together." So drove over, met him for breakfast, and we sat, we talked, and he's like, "You know what? I'm going to have you make a jacket for a friend of mine." Okay, cool. He's like, "You've seen Top Gun, right?" And I was like, "Obviously, yeah." I was like, "IWC did all the watches in that movie." He's like, "Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're with IWC." He's like, "Well, I'm going to have you make a jacket for a friend of mine." And I'm like, "Okay, this is cool." He's like, "Let's FaceTime him right now. See if he's up." Cool. So he hopped on his phone. He's here timing in. And he's like, "Well, it's 7:30 in the morning there. He should be up." And I was like, who is he calling at 7:30 in the morning? Like FaceTiming is that.
Yeah, FaceTime.
And you hear it, boom, open up. And he's like, "Hey, buddy." He's like, "Hey, you caught me. What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I just came in from a run." And he's like, "Hey, listen, so you were so gracious in getting us all watches from the movie. I want to return the favor. So I'm going to send my buddy out to meet with you whenever you guys can coordinate times, and I'm going to have him make you a jacket. He does amazing work and this and that." And he's like, "Let me introduce you." And he turns the phone around, and this guy's like rubbing his hair with a towel. And he puts the towel down, and I froze. It was Tom.
Oh God, it was.
Stop
I was
it!
gonna say,
I
Karen's about to have
Stop
a coronary.
Yeah.
Sean,
I froze.
I will sweep the floors for you. I will.
Hi.
Like, what do you need? Those are my people. Those are my people. He's short.
You know that Tom Cruise is like her ultimate celebrity crush of all time.
Tom Cruise and McConaughey.
I did not know that.
Oh my gosh, I love these people.
It's the hall pass.
I don't need a hall pass anymore.
Yeah.
I'll just show up. It's fine. It's fine.
So that.
Damn. How long ago was that?
That was just over a month ago. Yeah.
So you're in production right now.
Yeah.
So you need a delivery girl.
Seriously, I will wear my flattest
I'm looking out for you, Karen.
I will wear my flattest shoes. And I'll be like, I'm here for delivery. Seriously. Hook a sister up.
Like for John being cool enough to do that,
That's super sweet.
He's in New York right now working on a movie, and I'm making some stuff for him as well. And I just mentioned to him, I said, hey, I've been working on doing my own photography. Once all this stuff is done and I get it back to you for your fitting, would you mind if I did a shoot, like a practice shoot? Let me work on my photography skills. He's like, yeah, just let me know
That's awesome.
How much time you need, an hour or two. And I'm like, an hour would be great. He's like, cool. Tell me where you want me to be and I'll let you shoot. I mean,
That's awesome.
love guys like that,
Yes.
Yeah. Salt of the earth.
Right. Just regular. Like,
That's
we're all
great.
just people,
So
I love it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give your younger self, like your 17, 18-year-old self?
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't think we have enough time for that. I would say do more of the things that will make you more disciplined, because you have to be very, very disciplined in what I do to make sure that, I've got a team that works for me. But I do a lot of the hands-on myself. Mm-hmm. And I have to make myself even more disciplined because I wear so many hats. Mm-hmm. But I think with that, I have to also say, be more disciplined, but also learn to delegate. That's my biggest downfall, is that this has been my baby for 14 years now. And I still haven't quite learned how to let other people take care of the things that need to be done, because I feel like I have to have my hands on it to make sure that it gets done right.
Yeah,
so
I get that.
That takes up so much more of my time. It's so time consuming, and I try not to stress about hardly anything, but when I do, oh man, and it's all coming from me not being able to take my hands off of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pressure-filled job and a pressure-filled life if you make it that way.
Yeah.
I think as long as you fill your cup with that, this is all the joy that is in it for you, is it wins the battle in the, is it pressure or is it joy or is it both, and it can be both.
Yeah. I mean, I ultimately, with all the pressure that I do put on myself, I get this huge, not even a sigh of relief. It's just like those endorphins that kick in when I see a client open their jacket up and see when they put it on for the first time, and they're like, oh my gosh, this fits better than anything that I've, just like, it's those moments are what I live for.
Absolutely.
Seeing them so happy, saying, I can't wait to wear this. Seeing a client's wedding photos when they're so happy, and then the bride telling me he looked like $1 million. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and when you look like $1 million, you feel like $1 million.
Right.
Look good, play good, feel good.
That's right. That's
I
right.
love that.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Katie usually likes
to
ask, or what do we ask of everybody? Like, what do you want?
Well,
Go ahead.
One of the things that just is like sort of a guiding star for me with creating my life is at every turn, whether it's a macro, I'm public speaking or something like that, and I have the ability to have a larger audience, or I'm just going into a one-on-one meeting, I always ask myself, how do you want to be seen? How do you want to be heard? And what do you want to leave them with? And so I usually ask that too, is like, what do you want to leave people with? Even just here today on the podcast, or just in general, like, what does Sean Marshall want to leave people with?
I'll have to piggyback off of what you guys have said. Don't limit yourself. Don't keep yourself in a box. There's people that never travel. There's people that wake up every day and limit themselves as to who they are, what they're capable of doing in that day. There's so much more that you can do if you just make the instant decision of, I'm going to do it. Put that first foot out in front of the other. And even if it pushes you back for a second, make it a little cha-cha. Dance with it, but just keep moving forward.
I love that.
Cha-cha.
So, yeah, just don't limit yourself. In terms of like what I do, find your style. I mean, it's who you are. It's being able to express yourself without saying a word.
Perfect.
That's awesome. I loved what you said about discipline. I think discipline is something so many people struggle with in a lot of ways, but it's, when you think of it, that it's self-love, you are creating the life that you really want in the long term by being disciplined now in it. And what could be more loving to you than, steadfastly holding on to the life that you truly want.
Your future self will thank you for the discipline.
That discipline, well, I think people think discipline is punishment.
Right. Bad.
They view it so negatively, and it's not. It's truly like one of the highest forms of self-love you can have, which is pretty incredible.
And in terms of like work, career, it's doing what you have to do now so you can do what you want to do later.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had a boss in 15 years. And I mean, I've literally tried to put myself back in a position to where I would have to ask someone to go on vacation or go on, just, hey, can I have a couple of days off to just kind of reset? I can't fathom that anymore. But that alone is what I wake up to every day, saying, you know what, I don't have the luxury of being tired. Or, I mean, I can be tired, but not be lazy with it. If I'm sick, okay, how much can I do today to where I'm still making sure that I stay healthy? And I'm not just using it as an excuse to not do anything, to like not do something. Because having started this 14 years ago, I fly 25, 30 times a month now. And I make all those work trips a fun trip as well. So
what do you do for fun? What do you do when you're not working?
He has quite the tequila collection.
I love tequila.
Look at that. Dang.
See,
I recognize
I know some
bottles.
things. I don't know all the things, but I do know some things about him. So yeah, I knew that. It's pretty impressive. And coffee. He's a big coffee guy.
Oh yeah. I'm a coffee nut. Have you ever had coffee from a siphon?
No.
It's like a science experiment, but it's like the best cup of coffee you'll ever.
It's like a Bunsen
There's a
burner
place here
and
that
shit.
Is it?
There
It's
is.
oh wait, I have had one. It's called. There's a Karen. When you come here at the end of the month, we'll do it. It's called Coffee at the Roosevelts, and it's like it's
Bunsen burner,
it looks like a chemistry lab.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what he has on his counter.
I do that every morning.
You do? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my
Every
God.
morning.
It's like a production at this restaurant, and it's so fun. And they put this like star anise on top, and this, it's such a production. It's like, It's delicious.
Nice.
When I have clients come for fittings, I'll ask them, you want a cocktail? You want coffee? If they say coffee, oh yeah, it's a whole. Yeah,
You're like, it's on.
That's a show.
Yeah.
Yes. I love to shop. But if I'm just like chill, not do anything, I'm a movie fanatic. I love movies.
That's awesome. I love movies.
Big quotes, quoting all the movies too.
I really don't.
Oh yeah.
Well, I can't wait for you guys to all
Awesome.
be in the same place
Sean,
at the same time.
anything else? What else can we? I know I can't wait to meet you in person.
We'll make it happen.
We got to break the bread right now, so that it's got to happen. So
design for you and then shoot you. Make sure
that'd be so fun. So my last question would be: if you weren't making clothes and designing clothes, would it be photography that you would be interested in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love photography.
I can help you with that.
Love photography. What do you use?
I use a Fuji now, but I shot Nikon for like about 10 years, and then I went Canon. But I would say the Canon mirrorless these days are really, really nice. Sony does great video. It just depends on what you like.
So I've got a 5D right now that I use because like I love the colors like just in RAW.
Yeah.
But yeah, for video, Sony's like everything.
Sony's everything. Yeah. I switched to Fuji when they were kind of the emerging brand with the mirrorless before kind of the others came along, and I just kind of got in bed with that and have a lot of different lenses for my Fuji mirrorless, which I really, really love. I love how fast and easy it is. You can change your f-stop just on the lens by turning the lens, which I love.
Oh, wow. Really?
There's no button pushing. And it also looks like a throwback camera. It looks like an old school. But I'd love to get my hands on like a medium format and mess around with like a Leica or a Hasselblad or some.
Leicas are crazy.
I was just gonna say Leicas are like
that's like
the shit.
Camera porn.
100%. 100%.
So it definitely, like, having that in my life prior to doing what I'm doing now with like the content game was so pivotal and instrumental, because it just I became my best client, and I could see that you need that too in your life, being able to be sort of autonomous and not have to rely on somebody else to do all that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because like it's hard. Like if I have a vision for a shoot, I can tell a photographer how I want it to look, but watching them for 20 minutes, I'm like, no, you're still missing.
Not like that.
I want it.
I want it done this way. Yeah.
Well, we want to make
sure when we meet in person, we'll have to talk cameras.
Well, I was going to say, I want to make sure that people know how to contact Sean. We'll be sure to put that like contact info in the show notes and that kind of thing, to where if someone does want an overhaul, if they want custom pieces, we want to make sure that, they know how to contact you. So, and any other projects besides what you told us about that you're working on? I know you said something about the PGA and anything else coming up.
You want to plug?
So it's in the works. It's in the works right now, but I've had 2 meetings with the PGA so far. But I'm working on a women's golf line.
Sweet.
That's
golf
crazy.
Apparel. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's the only thing I like about golf is the clothes.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Like, the clothes are very cute.
Yeah. And I mean, and I had sketched out some stuff that was more on the like couture side of things, like for golf, to where like you're maybe playing golf, but you're having lunch more than anything else.
Sure.
And then a friend of mine saw it. She showed her boyfriend. He's like, if you can make this functional, I can get you a meeting. And so, I had to change up a few things, change up a few of the designs. And then I made like 2 samples. And he's like, all right, so I'm going to get you in contact with this person. Met with that guy. He is the managing partner of a venture capitalist company. And he's like, you need to talk to the PGA.
That's incredible.
Got that done. So
congrats.
Very cool.
That's exciting.
I mean, it's those transitional pieces. It's athleisure. Right.
Good luck with the PGA.
Getting me in there.
Thanks for taking our calls.
Yeah.
No,
you're so busy.
This is so fun. Like, you guys are awesome.
Oh, thank you so much for being here.
I'll make time for you guys, because this is like awesome. This is so awesome.
Oh, I learned a lot about you too.
I will say, like Karen said, you're going to inspire our 5 listeners. No, I'm just.
That's right.
We're getting there. We're watching our listenership grow a little bit, which is
pretty cool.
Exciting. So
we
appreciate you being on, Sean.
Yeah,
gracing us with your stories and your vibe. And
I talk a lot, so
no,
we're the same.
This has been so inspiring for me, and it's been a long time that Karen has chatted you up.
Yeah,
I was excited to finally get to meet you.
Same.
All right.
Sure.
Thank you so much, you guys, for joining. We'll see you next time.